Hello and welcome to your intro to Kettlebell Classic. I'm Coach Ricky. Right now we're going to be talking about all the little things and nuances that you need to know before stepping in the class. So where do we begin? Let's start off with just what kettlebells you feel like you should be getting and having for class. So my basic gist is that you should be able to move the bell, get the bell up into front rack, and then comfortably overhead press the bell with just your arm. If I'm here and I'm taking a super heavy bell and I'm trying to get it up into the clean, and that takes a lot of energy, and then I'm trying to overhead press it, and that's a lot of effort. That bell's probably too heavy. That bell right there, 62 pounds. Way too heavy for class. Now, if we're doing kettlebell swings, then maybe this is the perfect size bell for you. But for the general gist of the class, we do not need something that heavy and big. We just need something light that you can clean and then overhead press. Now, of course, for the kettlebells, you can buy a lot of different brands of things. I recommend when you're going with lighter bells, try not to go with something that's like small, like a softball. This is a 25-pound kettlebell. And I think as far as size goes, to get it into comfortably in the front rack, that's about as how big you would want it to be. You can buy kettlebells that are bulkier, as light as 10 pounds. But if you're just starting out, I would say probably start around the 15 range. And if you're like pretty strong, feel pretty comfortable, 25 is probably a really great place to start. Also, while thinking about your kettlebell purchases, you can think about what kind of brands you want to be making. I, for example, for class will be using these. They are from Rep, and they are an adjustable kettlebell set where I just take this bad boy, slide it on there, and then my 20-pound kettlebell becomes 25, 30, or all the way up to a 40-pound bell, which for this style of training and for how versatile the class is, can be really helpful. You can also just go and buy yourself one heavy bell, either like 35, 45, and then one light bell, 15, 25. So why kettlebell training? Well, kettlebell training is a ballistic style of workout that teaches the body on a bunch of different angles to be stable with different kinds of force attacking the body. And so, aside from doing stuff that's just linear, or you're just pulling and lifting and pressing, doing pushes, doing rows, we do all those movements, but we only use one object. So the body is constantly dealing with this off-balance feature and making you strong throughout your full systems. Also, I gotta tell you, I think it's super fun. Posture. Okay, let's talk about posture. So, your body is kind of emblematic of your lifestyle. So if you sit all day, you're gonna be looking a bit like this. Internally rotated, hips, ass out, and then legs kind of creaking in like so. Because you're just constantly here, your hips are rotating in, your back has an arch here, so then your thoracic spine up top is just kind of curled over. For kettlebell training, we want to kind of re-engineer that, starting out with the feet and the knees pressing out, driving our hip up, and flattening our pelvis. From there, we get a nice flat back, which then allows us to have an extension in our spine. And then from there, we get nice thoracic extension, which then has our shoulders sit nice and comfortably where they're supposed to be. This position right here is our power position for most moves. So when you're either in front rack, you're doing your kettlebell swing, doing most things, we want to keep that pelvis tucked, abdominals strong, and then having our thoracic extension up high. This is particularly important for overhead moves because my arm only goes to here If I'm sagging, I literally can't get it up any higher. But if I get my ass in, I can then get my spine up, and then I have through overhead mobility. And that is going to be super important for class. From there, we're going to go into breath control. Breath control, very important. This is a very cardio heavy class. Even though it is a strength-based class, because we're doing EMOM training, which is every minute on the minute, you have 3, sometimes even 5 minutes to be doing one exercise. So we have to be able to have good breath control as you're doing your swings or doing lunges or whatever I'm throwing at you that day, because there's going to be a lot of variety. That's how I like to train. Oh yeah. So breath control. We want to start off getting ourselves nice into that locked in position, pelvis tucked, knees flared out, which will also help with your pelvis, and then shoulders up. And then we want to use the tension and the force, not just in our abdominals, but also in our pelvic floor to create structure in our abdominis, because that structure is what allows me and will allow you to move things that weigh 62 pounds with good stability and good control. So for this, we want to get into our good position, big breath in, and then create pressure by flexing your obliques, holding in your pelvic floor, kind of like you have to have a pee, and then bringing your lats in. And then slowly release while maintaining that tension. Keeping the pelvic floor engaged. And you'll see I'm getting these nice big breaths. I'm filling both my abdominis and my chest cavity. There's a lot of force and control here. I'm also breathing in and out through my nose, where by doing so, I get a lot more oxygen into my lungs than I would if I were breathing in and out of my mouth. So as we do moves, you want to be exhaling through motion, inhaling as we come down. There are some different style of breathing techniques that you will see, but this class we're not going to be trying to get into anything so advanced. We're just trying to do the beginner parts, the simpler parts, so that you can start getting used to using your breath and used to moving the bells. All right, how do you hold the bell? This is very important, because as we move into more dynamic moves, if you're holding the bell improperly, you're going to rip up your hands. It really caused a lot of injury here, and then you're not really training with the kettlebells. You're just causing yourself a lot of frustration later, which nobody wants. Nobody. So how do we deal with this? Well, first thing we do is we want to figure out our nice hook grip. We always hold the bell a little bit closer up to the top. The reason being for that is that as we move into the clean and then eventually to overhead press, this hook here is where all that structure is going to be coming from. So I take my hands, I make myself a nice little cupping motion, I hook under, and then have control of the bell like so. And what this allows for is for me to be very versatile in my movements here. So if I want to get it into front rack, I come up and swing it into the clean. And then for overhead pressing, you see I have my light fingers here. All I'm doing is going up, keeping my shoulder engaged, and then having that light hold. So that as I come down, and if I want to get the bell away from me, I keep my hook in, I press the bell away, hook it, and then back in. Nice and easy. I'm not death gripping it and really muckling around. I am controlling the weight with the hook and then using that as my tool of versatility and motion. All right, let's get ourselves into some moves. So first one, very classic, very standard. I'm going to show you my 45 here is the kettlebell deadlift. Now, deadlift being one of the pivotal motions and moves for personal training or for just general training. We really want to make sure that this one is locked in. So you see, I have the bell lined up with the arches of my feet. I'm in my nice tall stance. What I don't want to do is drive my knees forward. We are hinging at the hips. This hip hinge is quintessential to kettlebell training because we are constantly hinging and then engaging. So for the deadlift, I stand over, my arms I treat like ropes. I come down by dropping and hinging at my waist, grabbing the bell, and hinging back up. Nice and simple. This hinge motion is where I am using the glute, biggest muscle group on my body, and using that as the lever, because I don't want to be arching my back and trying to pull it up with my spine. And right now we're not talking about using our hamstrings where I'm just leaning over, trying to keep that flat back, and then potentially rounding and injuring myself with the weight. So we come here. If you're really struggling with the hinge cue, my suggestion is always take your hands, put them on your hips, drive them back, reach down, treat your arms like ropes, and then drive directly through with your feet, hinging up and down. Nice and straightforward. From there, we're going to move into the kettlebell swing. Now, this is a fundamental movement of kettlebell training. And if all you get out of this video is how to do a proper swing, congratulations, you did a great job. So for our swing, we want to be using the momentum of the bell. We want to be taking the bell, bringing it into the hips, driving up, standing into that affirmed posture, into that good posture. My pelvis is tucked, my core is engaged, my shoulders are not forward. I am pulling my lats in, maintaining structure, and then letting the bell come down, engaging with the swing as the weight hits me, and then powering through. So we start out with our feet and the bell in this nice triangle, A, B, C. I come down, I sit. You can see here I have my good hip hinge, and then I'm standing up, and I start my swing. Now I don't want to be doing this too willy-nilly. I'm not trying to get it super high. I'm not trying to like use my arms and like raise it. This is all about the hips and the arms and shoulders maintaining stability. So I'm here, I pull in, up, down, up, down. You hear that breath. I use my time to relax and inhale as it comes down, and I use the force of my breath to squeeze and get the bell up. We'll go over some final points of the kettlebell swing during classes, but that is the gist of what you need to know. All right, from here we're going to go into single arm swings. So for the single arm swing, there's a lot of different schools of thought here. It's all about your comfort level and what makes it feel right for you. You'll see traditionally most people take the hand hold of the bell kind of as if they were doing a two-handed swing. And then what they do is they come here, we pull into the crotch, thumb to the bum, and we do this kind of rocker motion. Same with the dropping of the hips, kind of like the deadlift. Meeting with both hands at the top, making sure I get that nice tall stance as I come up and down. Now for myself, I prefer doing pendulum swinging and using my thumb as the guideline for this. If I'm doing the classic squat and I'm switching back and forth, you see my knees are buckling, coming down and up. I feel like this works really well. Now, if we want to get into the pendulum swing, which is my preferred way of doing the kettlebell swing, what we do here is I bring my legs in a bit more. And I'll change my angle here so you can see. I bring my legs in a bit closer so the bell will be just going right between my knees. And then what I do is I bring it in, bringing my thumb together, and then I'm using the rocker of the bell, thumb up, keeping those shoulders engaged as I come up and down, and using the weight of the bell to do this move. This is known as like a more, quote unquote, advanced style of swinging, but with the proper weight, I think anyone can learn it. All right, from there we got the Kettlebell Clean. The clean is going to be really important because that's how we learn how to get the bell into front rack. And front rack is where we do a lot of work in kettlebell training because that is the position where we can do squats, lunges, Cossack squats, all kinds of stuff. All kinds of stuff. So, to start out, without doing any swinging, just getting the bell into the clean, we start the same way we would with the deadlift. Bell between my feet, I come directly down, and then what I'm doing is I'm creating a straight line up into the clean. We don't want to be throwing the bell out from us and then trying to pull it in. That's not how weight works. We want to be using as straight lines as possible. So I come here, and just to start out, just try giving yourself 5 up to here and then catching the bell. You see I come up, I tuck my elbow back, and I come right back down. 3, breath in, breath out, 5, just like that. So from here, what we do is we then work on hooking underneath the bell with our hand. I'll try to slowly show you this in slow motion. I bring the bell up, I then punch underneath the bell as it's in momentum, and then bring it in to front rack. To do this first with the assisted way, we come up and I hold it in. Down, up, and tuck it in. And then unassisted, I'm here and I just suck it underneath. Now what we don't want to see is we don't want to see the bell coming up and flopping into you and jostling all around. And we don't want to be coming down and coming up and landing out here. And we don't want to be coming down and coming up and trying to get it into this place. We want to be creating as much of a straight line as possible from the floor up into the clean. And then holding it in this position. My elbow up against my body, my thumb up against my clavicle, and keeping it in this position. Let's do some swinging cleans. Okay, so the swinging clean, very similar to the normal clean, except that we're getting momentum into the bell. And so, as all swings start, we get the bell out away from us. I'm going to show you the traditional way first and then show you how to do it with the pendulum. So I'm here, bring the bell in, and suck it up under. And then to continue doing that in a flow sequence, I would come down and up, down and up. And you'll see here, I'm tossing the bell away from me first, catching the momentum, and then allowing the bell to make my hips move. I'm not pre-swinging or anything. I'm taking the bell, I'm pushing it away, catching it, and then coming back up. Keeping that nice light grip. Now, if I want to do this with the pendulum swing, what I do is I switch hands, and then very similarly, keep my legs a little closer together, swing, up, swing, and up. Now, all of this is very personal. So if you only feel comfortable doing kettlebell swings where we're keeping our thumb in and then cleaning up, that's fine. If you only feel comfortable doing pendulum swings and doing the clean, that's also fine. This class is not about teaching you the this is the mastery, you have to do it this way. It's about you getting a great workout and doing something that you feel comfortable with. And hopefully having some fun as well. All right, so we've gone over the clean. We've gone over front rack. We've gone over the clean swing. Now we're going to go into the clean swing press. This is one of the more dynamic, ballistic exercises of kettlebell training, and will eventually be a big part of class as we start getting in numbers and building the people. So I'm here, same as always, I squat down, get my bell set, I do my clean, and then I overhead press. Now for the overhead press, I'm not trying to drive my shoulder up and get this thing super crazy high, because what I do is I lose stability if I do that. I want to keep my shoulder down, as if I'm pushing the bell away from me while trying to maintain good structure in my core. And you can see I got my pelvis tucked, keeping everything nice and tight in here, like I'm holding in a P. And then I have this nice thoracic mobility because my chest is able to be up and I'm able to keep the bell overhead, not driving this shoulder up really high, keeping it down and loaded. And then to getting down, I bring it to myself. And presses, in a lot of ways, can either be just using the arm, you can get a little bit more of your hips into it, or you can really drive from your full lower section, come down and do what they call a thruster and press the bell up nice and high. You saw me do that with the 62. Okay, now time just to go over some more common moves that you're going to see in class that if you're not familiar with, you're going to want to have some good language around. First one is kettlebell halos. Halos, super important, really good for shoulder stability and health. I do them a lot. They're going to be a big part of class, so prepare for lots of weird variations with this move. But the halo, once again, we get ourselves into this tuck position. You see I'm holding the bell upside down. I get my chest up. I'm holding here, pulling my lats in, getting those shoulder blades into the right position. And then what I'm doing is I'm bringing the bell around my head and then around my head, resetting into that proper position every time. Always coming here, and I'm not coming here and then sagging forward, right? I'm keeping my tall stance, my pelvis, my chest, everything nice and engaged. Around, down, around, down. From there, we move into single leg RDLs. If you're not used to doing an RDL, my suggestion is get some kind of pole. A broomstick works really great to help you with keeping everything nice and straight up and down. So the gist of the RDL is we get one side of our body balanced on the other leg, slight bend in the knee, and then all I'm doing is hinging forward, trying not to make sure that I'm opening up or closing too much. I hinge down until I feel the hamstring fire, and then I return. And that's the whole move. But because there's so much nuance in it, I felt like it was necessary to go over, because a lot of people will come down and they'll kind of flail and they'll try to get their leg like super straight and they're trying to get all the way down 90 degrees and their back is all over the place. And then it's not an efficient move because you're getting too much spine mobility and you're not really focusing on what we're working on, which is the hip joint itself. So for this move, starting variations, we want to just be here, slight bend in the knee. I come down until I feel the hamstring fire, and then I come back up. It doesn't matter if you feel it fire here, or feel it fire all the way here. What you're looking for is to be able to maintain good structure in the hips and then go through the move. Once you have that good structure down without an object, then what you can really start working on is keeping everything nice and straight. You can have a slight bend in the knee, down and up, working on this pivot in the hips and not bending and trying to do it with your spine. We want to feel that motion in the hip joint. From there, we're going to go into how to do a proper lunge. Lunging is going to be a big part of class. You always want to be working on the quads. So first thing I'm going to show you straight on is that as we lunge, we want to keep our feet lined up with each other. I come forward, and then what I'm making sure is that my feet are always lined up with the hip that they are associated with. I don't want my feet too much together, making like a straight line. I don't want my feet way out to one side. We want them lined up, those hips turned nice and in. And then from there, what we want to be doing is we're trying to get our knees and our hips to 90-degree angles. Coming straight down. I'm not coming forward, over. I'm going directly down. Get myself into the proper position here. Just like so. I'm driving my knee out to the side. And what I'm doing is I'm getting 90 degrees here, 90 degrees here, and 90 degrees at the other knee. And then I press up through for what would be quintessentially a split squat. Now, if you're lunging, you just got to find where that good place is for yourself. And over time, this will become pretty natural for you. But what we really don't want to see, and what you want to watch yourself for, is that as you're coming down, we don't want this knee buckling in. We want to make sure that we're driving it out to the side, not so dramatically that I'm falling, but that it's stable and that the energy and the force of the move is coming from the right parts of the legs, and we're not risking injuring our knees because we're getting too much inward impingement. Okay, the next move we're going to go over is the Cossack squat. Cossack squat's a great way of building the inner thighs and really working on good hip mobility. So from there, what we're going to be doing is making sure that we are keeping one leg straight and bending at one knee, coming down, trying to get this knee to 90 degrees, and then back up. Down to 90 and back up. If you're coming here and you're getting some weird impingement and it's really hard, it might help to just raise that foot up, which will then open up your hip joint and then allow you to get down into that proper positioning. Now, the Cossack squat can be done all the way down to the floor, sitting, and then back up. But class will never be going into something that advanced. You just need to be able to make sure that you can come down to 90 degrees and back up, keeping your torso up and down and staying nice and stable. Whew, all right, and finally, we have proper plank position. There are going to be planks during this class, so you better be ready. So for good plank posture, first and foremost, you just want to start here on all fours, minding our breath, and then starting out by tucking in that pelvis, creating that negative pressure like we did in the beginning, and holding that power and force. From there, what we do is we then can press up onto our hands, and this is the proper plank. Now, there's a lot of moves we're going to be doing during class, whether that be windmills or down dog toe touches or plank pass unders, where I take my kettlebell and I bring it under and under and under. And so being able to have a solid plank where you're always keeping that core tight is going to be really pivotal to making sure that you're maintaining a healthy spine and back. Because if we're doing plank pass unders and I'm sagging like this, that's a lot of excess force into my low back. That's not what we want. We want to be maintaining our powerful core, maintaining strong structure, and then be doing the moves. All right. I think that was everything that I wanted to go over for class. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment in the YouTube channel. Kettlebell Classic is every Tuesdays and Thursdays at 5:30. Link will be there for signing up for the Zoom meetings, and I'm going to be posting them every single week to YouTube. So if you miss one, you can always come and catch back up. We will see you guys out there. Enjoy your time, and we will catch you next time. Peace!